Your brain is lying to you right now. Not about something small. About money. About your future. About whether you are actually in control of your financial life. And the terrifying part is, the smarter you are, the better your brain is at the lie. There is a pattern that researchers have noticed for decades, and it is this: intelligence does not protect you from bad financial decisions. In many cases, it makes things worse. Because a smarter brain is a more sophisticated rationalizer. It builds better arguments for the wrong choices. It constructs airtight cases for why you specifically are the exception to the rule. And then it watches you lose. If you have ever wondered why you know what you should be doing with money but still are not doing it, this video is the answer. Not a motivational answer. Not a tips and tricks answer. The actual neurological, psychological, and behavioral answer. And more importantly, the override. Here is why this matters right now. We are living in the most financially complex moment in modern history. Inflation has eroded purchasing power faster than most people have adjusted to. Interest rates rewrote the rules on housing, debt, and savings almost overnight. The old reliable paths, a pension, a stable job for 30 years, a house that just appreciates forever, those are gone or going. And in their place is a landscape full of noise. Influencers telling you to buy crypto. Algorithms feeding you whatever keeps you scrolling. A financial services industry that profits whether you win or lose. The people watching this video are not financially illiterate. You are curious. You are motivated. You are trying. But you are also overwhelmed. And when smart, overwhelmed people make financial decisions, the brain takes shortcuts. Those shortcuts have names. And once you know them, you cannot unsee them. The first one is called present bias, and it is the reason your future self is basically a stranger to you. Here is how it works. Your brain is built to survive the present. Every reward system in your nervous system is wired toward immediate outcomes. The future is abstract. The present is real. So when you tell yourself you will start investing next month, or you will pay off that card once things settle down, your brain is not procrastinating out of laziness. It is doing exactly what evolution built it to do. Prioritize now. The research on this is striking. In one well-known study, people were given a choice between receiving a smaller amount of money today or a larger amount in a few weeks. Most chose the smaller amount now, even when the larger delayed amount represented a return no investment on earth could match. Your brain is literally willing to leave guaranteed money on the table to avoid waiting. The real-world cost of this is enormous. The average American in their 30s who delays investing by just 5 years loses not 5 years of growth but, depending on the market, potentially decades worth of compounding. That delay, that present bias, is not a small mistake. It is often the single most expensive financial decision a person ever makes. And they make it without even realizing it is a decision at all. The override here is not discipline. Willpower is a limited resource and it runs out. The override is automation. You remove the present from the equation. Automatic contributions to a retirement account, automatic transfers to savings, automatic extra payments on debt. When your future self does not have to compete with your present self for resources, your future self wins by default. Now here is where it gets more dangerous. Present bias is about time. The next bias is about loss. And it hits harder. It is called loss aversion, and the core finding, documented across hundreds of studies, is that the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful psychologically as the pleasure of gaining the same thing. Losing $100 feels about twice as bad as gaining $100 feels good. That asymmetry wires your financial behavior in ways that quietly destroy wealth. Think about the investor who watches their portfolio drop 15% and sells everything to stop the bleeding. They felt the loss so acutely that they made it permanent. They locked in the decline. Then the market recovered, and they watched from the sidelines, too afraid to buy back in at the higher price because now they were also anchored to what they originally paid. Loss aversion stacked on top of anchoring bias, the tendency to fixate on an irrelevant reference point, and the result is a person who sold low and never bought back. Or think about the person who holds on to a losing stock long past reason because selling it would make the loss real. The money is already gone in any practical sense. But as long as they do not sell, the loss lives only on paper, and the brain treats paper losses differently than realized ones. This is called the disposition effect, and it is one of the most well-documented ways that ordinary investors consistently underperform the market, not because of bad initial choices, but because of the irrational behavior that follows. The override is to change the frame. Instead of asking yourself what you might lose, ask what this decision costs you per year in opportunity. Instead of avoiding the feeling of loss, schedule a monthly financial review where you look at underperforming assets with one specific question: would I buy this today with fresh money? If the answer is no, you already have your answer. The third bias is subtler and more socially embedded than the first two. It is called social proof, and in financial terms it is the mechanism behind every bubble in history. Human beings are social animals. When we are uncertain, we look to others. What are they doing? What do they believe? And we adjust. This is mostly adaptive. In a world of incomplete information, using social consensus as a signal makes sense. Except financial markets are not normal social environments. They are environments where the consensus forms, peaks, and reverses, often leaving the last group of believers holding the loss. Remember late 2021. Retail investors were pouring money into assets with no earnings, no business model, and no clear value, because everyone around them was doing the same. The conversations at dinner parties, the Reddit threads, the coworker who made 30% in a month. That social signal felt like information. It was not information. It was a feedback loop. And when it reversed fast. The thing about social proof in finance is that by the time something is popular enough to be visible in your social environment, you are almost never early. You are usually late. The override is to treat popularity as a yellow flag, not a green one. Before you make any investment decision, ask where you are in the cycle of that idea. Who is already in? Who profits from your participation? And what would have to be true for this to fail? The fourth and final pattern is one that catches people who have actually done the work. Who have read the books, taken the courses, made the spreadsheets. It is called overconfidence bias, and it scales with knowledge. The more you learn about investing, the more certain your brain becomes that you can beat the market, time the market, or identify the one fund manager or stock picker who will do it for you. Decades of data say otherwise. Somewhere between 80 and 90% of actively managed funds underperform their benchmark index over a 10-year period. Not because the managers are unintelligent. Because markets are brutally efficient at processing information, and the overconfidence of many smart players cancels out. The amateur investor who thinks they spotted a pattern that professionals have missed is almost always wrong. Not sometimes. Almost always. And the cost, in transaction fees, taxes from frequent trading, and missed compounding, is staggering. The override here is humility by design. It means building a portfolio with index funds at the core, keeping costs low, staying diversified, and reserving any active bets for a small portion of your portfolio that you can afford to lose entirely. So this week, here is exactly what you do. First, automate one thing. One automatic transfer, one automatic contribution, something that removes your present self from the equation. Second, look at your portfolio or your debt and ask the honest question: what am I holding onto because selling it would make a loss feel real? Third, identify one financial idea you currently believe because the people around you believe it. Interrogate it. And fourth, look at the expense ratios on every fund you own. If you do not know what they are, find out today. These four things will not make you rich this week. But they will stop your brain from making you poorer, and that is where wealth actually starts. Most financial content will tell you what to do. AcumenFi is going to keep showing you why your brain resists doing it, and exactly how to work around it. Because knowing is not enough. You need the edge.